It's August the 9th, 2019, and I'm out looking at some trails in the Good Dog area. We've had two big rainstorms in the last 2 days. Rained pretty hard for an hour or two. Of course, I'm used to this because I hail from North Carolina, and that happens almost every day. But here in Bend and Deschutes National Forest, it's a little unusual to have those kinds of rain events. And that combined with very highly erodible soil, even though those events, we've only had a couple and they were, only an hour or so long, you can see a fair bit of trail damage in the form of water-based erosion. Managing water is one of the keys to sustainable trails management. So we are on the Deschutes River Trail as it drops down to the river in the Good Dog area. Of course, there's a number of social trails in this area, but this is an official trail. And you can see very obvious signs of water-based erosion. And that's due to a lack of any real trail maintenance, particularly water management on this particular trail. I'm going to turn around and walk down trail a little bit. You can see the rivulet right in the middle of the trail. The trail right now is super firm. It's kind of interesting what happens here. What happens is as that soil gets wet, it becomes very firm. It's very loose when it's dry, but it's very firm as it starts to really get a moisture level content in it from rains. And then because of that, you have a higher level of surface runoff because the trail tread is very firm. So anyway, we can see, again, water-based erosion coming off of this trail. But I wanted to compare and contrast that to what we see on roads. One of the big factors of surface runoff is the lack of vegetation and the width of that area of lack of vegetation. It's part of what we call the trail tread watershed. Everything that can drain onto any given section of trail. And that includes landscape. So if you're below a rock area, obviously that rock is not absorbing any moisture, so that's available for runoff. The trail itself, but the width of that impervious and area that forms the road or forms the trail. So now we're looking at road runoff versus trail runoff. And we saw problems back behind us, coming from the trail. But now let's take a look at this road runoff. And as you can see, there is a lot of sediment transfer that has happened. We call these deposits, sediment deposits. Sometimes we call them sand puddles. In a more clay-based soil, we would call them mud puddles. Very typical user over here. We see a guy out walking with his two dogs. This is a very typical user profile for this particular area. Hey, little buddy, how you doing? But we see, that we've got sediment transfer and surface runoff all through this area in a really big way, super wide. It may not look quite the same because it's it's wider and it's more broad-based, but where's all this water coming from? And we're on an official road, inventoried road, and you can see that we're down in the bottom, and so up above us is where the road goes up. So we're down in what we would call a saddle. So we've got a lot of water running from that direction down into the saddle. But then looking in the opposite direction, we will also see that it's going uphill for a much longer area. These roads are in here for fire management and forest management, and they effectively have no water management whatsoever, and they have significantly higher water runoff. And so, the point here is that yes, we have problems with trails, and we need to figure out how to motivate and educate and employ volunteers to get out and work on these trails. But I also wanted to showcase and highlight that our road system is having a much, much, much higher runoff factor and higher impact on the landscape as compared to our trails. There's 900 miles of dirt trails. There's 9,000 miles of these roads. that are having significant runoff issues. In those rare, but we do have those rain events.